in Milton Keynes for CRE 2024. I'm Chris from Monkey Nut, and I'm delighted to be joined by Pastor Pete from Green Pastures. Hi Pete, how are you?
I'm fine, Chris. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you.
That's good.
Tell me a little bit about Green Pastures. You are one of the founding members of Green Pastures. Just give us a little bit of an insight of how it all began.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long story, so I'll cut it very short. We'd worked with the local authority to get £9 million. And then when £900,000 was allocated to housing homeless people, of which we were interested in those sleeping under the pier, we went to see the local director, who was Graham Hayward, and we said, "Do you need help?" He said, "No, we're the professionals," but none of the money got spent on the people under the pier. So I was rather miffed. We prayed every morning. I came in that morning. I was really upset with the Almighty. Said, "Don't think this is fair. We're the Christians. You're supposed to help us." And then we read the story of the Good Samaritan. And right at the end of that, suddenly it lit up. This man put his hand in his own pocket and paid for the well-being of someone he didn't know for Adam. And we felt the Lord say, "I told my church to look after the poor, not go around with the begging bowl. Why aren't you doing what I'm telling you?" So he said, "What do you want us to do? Put your hand in your own pocket." So I had a small pension of £6,000. The lady that helped me, Vicky Woodley, she put in 25,000. We said, "This is a terrible idea. We'll house alcoholics. They'll smash their flat up and we'll lose all their money. But nevertheless, you've asked us to do it, so we'll do it." So 9 months later, it proved very successful. And the two couples that we'd put in, one was an alcoholic, had recovered from his alcoholism, and the other lady downstairs with a one-parent child, she had improved. And they said, "We need to give up our flat. We're going to get married." And we said, "We're sorry, Lord. It's been very successful. They've got married, and we've got two other people going in the flat." So that's how we began.
Wow. And it started just from that small, humble beginning by the sounds of things, and you've grown into something much bigger, haven't you?
Yes, we were so excited about what happened. We went out and bought 2 more houses before the end of the year. And by the end of the second year, we were housing all the people that were under the pier, and we were housing about 45 people.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Let's talk about homelessness in the UK, because it's a huge problem, isn't it?
Absolutely, there's over 1 million people. There's 600,000 that are sleeping in temporary accommodation, which means 1 bedroom for 4 people, sharing toilet, bathroom and kitchen. I think that's appalling.
That is pretty awful. And it's interesting that you use that setting, because the word homelessness does sort of suggest people living on the street. But actually, this term has gone into people living in temporary accommodation.
Well, absolutely. If you're living in a hotel, you haven't got your own house, have you? That's very logical.
No, it's an awful situation to be in. How are you going in and supporting all these people then? Because there's such a vast number of people that need help, accommodation, shelter from the streets. How are you helping them individually? Are you working with local authorities?
Well, we are working with local authorities, but we're mainly working with churches and charities, Chris. And that means we're doing a very limited amount. We're housing about 6,500 to 7,000 people. When you think there's 1 million people that are living homeless at the moment, then that's very poor.
It is. It's awful. And when you're taking these people in, you're looking after them, are you doing anything else for them? Are you helping them in any other way?
Yeah, at this moment in time, we not only care for them by putting a wraparound package around them so they're cared for. So have you got enough food in your cupboard? Have you got gas? Do you need to go to the doctor? So we're really showing them the love of Christ in our actions, because that's what Christianity is about. Not just telling people Jesus loves you, but actually showing them that Jesus loves them by actually being engaged in their lives and helping them with their lives, also with education. So now we've got a college we've bought, which we're educating people. We've so far, in the last 2 years, been able to put 28 into full-time employment. So we are working in that way. We've got a social enterprise where we're baking biscuits so we can actually employ the unemployable. these things are happening at this moment in time, and we plan to grow them.
That's incredible. You really are giving back to not just people, but to a community as well, because you're turning people into, well, you're giving them a worth, I suppose, aren't you?
Well, absolutely. And it all comes about because God gave us a financial model that has worked for the last 15 years. So we call it our 9% rule, and we encourage people to invest with us. And when they invest with us, we pay them 5%. They can invest for 1 year or they can invest for 30 years. But whenever they need their money back, they can have their money back. But that helps us to buy the house. And the other 4% goes to the administration and upkeep of the property.
Wow. That's a really, really great model that you've established. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you must be really, really proud of where you started out and where you are now. Just looking at, if you take a step back from it and look at it as a whole, you must be so, so proud.
I wouldn't say we're proud of anything, Chris. If any man glory, let him glory in the Lord. We've got to put it all down to the Lord has helped you. We could tell you 100 stories of how God has intervened in what we've been doing and said, I'm going to help you at this moment in time. And I tell you, at that moment, we've been crying out and saying, God, if you don't help us, we're going to sink. So God has been with us all the way. It's been an amazing journey. And all we can say, we are so thankful to the Almighty for guiding us and speaking to us and helping us and sometimes financing us through our lives.
I'd love you to tell me one of those success stories of how someone's come in to the charity, been taken in by you and turned their life around.
Oh, we could tell you a lot. Let me tell you one that jumps to mind straight away. And that was a man who came to us, an alcoholic, and he was an absolutely horrible man. And he used to abuse us. All our staff got sworn at and told we were rubbish and things like that. And he would continue in that vein for about 6 months. And then I was sitting on the stairs of the church one June day, and it was quite a lovely sunny day. And this man came out, and I went, oh no, I just don't want to talk to this man today. And he sat down next to me. And he said, Pastor Pete, I'm going to tell you why I'm on the road. And he pulled out this old black battered wallet, and he pulled out a picture and he showed it to me, and it was of a beautiful young girl of about 9 or 10, lovely raven black hair, and he said, this is the reason I'm on the road. He said, I came home from work and there was a knock on the door and it was a policeman. He said, I'm sorry to tell you, your daughter's just been killed in a road accident. He said, it blew my mind. He said, and for the last 6 months, I just packed a bag and left home, and I've been on the road. And then he said, you are the first person and people that have been kind to me since I had my daughter killed. And from that moment onwards, that man's life changed. And he got off the booze and he got back into employment. And then he came in to see us one day. He said, I'm off to Norwich. I've got a job that I used to do before. And I'm going back into full-time employment. And it's all thanks to you guys. Now, I tell you, it's worth a ton of money. It's absolutely fantastic. And I've seen that happen 1,000 times in the last 25 years. See people come to Christ. It's the greatest joy in my life.
That's such an emotional story. Thank you for sharing that with us. I wanted to ask, you're such a great model for Green Pastures and everything that it does. And just hearing you tell that story, the emotion that it carries, you must have a lot of people on the ground working with all the homeless families, people, individuals. How many people are working with Green Pastures right now?
Well, we have 100 people we employ personally in working with us. And we most probably have 2,000 or 3,000 people out there in the country that are working with homeless people. So God has helped us in that sense. That has been absolutely terrific. We are now at a position where we could spend £20 million a year, but the church isn't rising to it. We're getting about 6 million in at this moment in time. So we are really at this moment in time looking to the church to become bigger investors so that we can reach more people. We could house another 2,000 people every year, and we're most probably housing about 400 every year. So we're looking to God to help us with this particular problem.
It's a massive, massive issue here in the UK.
Absolutely.
And I guess your job is never really done.
No.
It's never going to be finished. I mean, the brilliant thing would be to say Green Pastures doesn't exist anymore because we've tackled homelessness. But the issues that people are facing today are bigger and bigger and bigger. When you first started out, I guess some of the issues like you were talking about are alcoholism, potentially drugs. Are those issues much wider now?
Oh, yes, they are. But also the asylum seekers, that's a huge problem for us at the moment. And people becoming refugees. Refugees, when someone gets permission to stay, where they're staying, they get thrown out within 2 weeks. That's appalling. So at the end of the day, if the church really would wake up, we could end homelessness. I think at this moment in time, if we flew a plane over the nation at night, I reckon there's 30,000 pinpricks of light would shine up where people would be saying, we'd love to give up secular employment and come and work for Jesus. And we could employ them and we could cure homelessness, because Christ doesn't give us jobs to do that we cannot accomplish. He is always going to fulfill his purpose.
Absolutely. Pastor Pete, if somebody has been moved by what you've been telling us today and wants to come and join you or volunteer for you or to find out more about Green Pastures, what's the best place they could do that online?
Yeah, go on to www.greenpastures.co.uk. All the information's there. And do come and join us. We'd love you to help us. Or invest with us. We'd love you to invest with us. It's really good to talk to you, Chris.
Thank you so much. And thank you for coming back to CRE. I know you've been a long-standing member of CRE. You've been coming for, I think you told me, 16 years.
That's right.
How important is it for CRE to have you here and for you to be at CRE? You must get to see so many people.
We do, but we love Steve, who runs this. We think he's a great guy and a great emissary for the Almighty in doing this job.
Brilliant. Pastor Pete, thank you so much. And if you want to find out more about CRE and what's happening here in Milton Keynes in 2024, or perhaps you'd like to exhibit next year in 2025, why don't you go to the website? It's creonline.co.uk.